recording. Oh, welcome, Mandy.
Oh, God. Okay, no problem.
Right. And thank you for anyone else who's still patiently waiting for us to kick off this blab. Hey, good afternoon. That's brilliant. I'm just hanging up from that call. Have you hung up? Mandy and I have just been playing with the technology for those of you who've been waiting. So I think we might still have Justin. If you're still here, thank you very much for your patience. I appreciate that. I'm Kate Nankerville of Force of Nature, and this is the first What is Your Force of Nature blab. And today, my beautiful guest is Mandy Beverley of mandybeverley.com, who will introduce what she's all about. But part of what Mandy's about is she's an expert John D. Martini facilitator and does a whole bunch of amazing work, which is exactly the point of what we're going to talk about today. And we're just working on the light factor, and I'm just going to see if I can improve that. Excuse me while I stand up and see if we can get some more light on me. I think that will help. We've just got the sun in this lovely New Zealand summer. I don't know if that's better or worse, but we'll try. We'll give that a whirl. So, Mandy.
Hi, Kate. How are you?
Hi. Oh, I'm much relieved that we're there and we're actually recording this blab. I think we might still have Natalie Oborn here if she's still patiently waiting. She did join the blab a while back, so we'll see. She was following, so that's cool. So, Mandy, this afternoon, and for anyone else who's out there watching or who will be watching this later once it's recorded, the purpose of my What is Your Force of Nature blab and my intent behind it is to interview people just like Mandy, who's here today, about what their personal force of nature is. What is it about them and the work that they do and the things that they do in their life that is their passion or their special sauce? There's a whole bunch of other words. Mandy, do you have any other words for that?
Your unique footprint, look, just whatever it's almost like your own spiritual cause as well, because whatever's most important to you is all about who you are. Yeah,
absolutely. That's great. I like that. That's great. Nice words. And the thing that I want to do with What is Your Force of Nature is I want to do really two things. I want to interview people who are demonstrating a life lived in their passion or in their force of nature, and also interview people who like Mandy, have tools and technologies to help others begin to live a life that is actually making their force of nature real in their life and being able to step into that rather than perhaps living a life that is, you might be doing a job that you don't love and it's the start of the year, it's 2016 and you're kind of a bit worn out with that, but you know that there's something you'd much rather be doing. Well, I know that Mandy has a whole range of different technologies and tools to assist people to take those steps and to find a new path and create a life that they do love.
Yep, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I think nowadays there's plenty around for everybody to develop their force of nature or to really recognize what their force of nature is. And I love what you call it, the force of nature, because, we really do. We do have a force that is us. And I think when we give ourselves permission to unleash that into the world, then that's when we really become unstoppable and we become more of who we are. So I love what you've called it, a force of nature. I think it's great.
Thank you. So, Mandy, let's step into this, and I'd like to begin by asking you to tell the audience, what is it that you do? How do you describe what Mandy Beverley is all about?
Well, there's a couple of things, but first of all, I like to help people own their place in the universe. And I think what it is to really help us all take up the space that we're here to do. There is no random in the universe. There is there's a definite reason we're here. There's a purpose to why we're here. And I like to really get people in touch with that. And I think what happens though a lot of the time is that people can get very confused because there's a lot of tough times and a lot of challenge that comes into their life. And so another part to what I do is help them dissolve that challenge and literally see that, whatever is going on in their lives, there's actually a reason for it. And so when they have a real, they can see that there's a purpose to everything, it makes their lives a lot more meaningful. So that's kind of where I how I sort of help people just begin to evolve and build a bigger life for themselves.
That sounds great and exciting. Can you tell me and the others who are watching, how do you do that? What's the thing that you bring? What have you learned about that enables you to do that?
Well, I've learned about the science of transformation and the science of human behavior. And when you sort of put them together in a very realistic way, you realize that what we use for our imagination is nowhere near as grand as what the universe has in store for us. So it sort of allows us all to play a much bigger game. And so I've got the tools and some strategies that I love to teach people, love to help people so that they can really start to play the bigger game. And one of those is I use a method called the DeMartini method, which there's a speaker called Dr. John DeMartini, so I'm a facilitator of his method. And I find it's one of the most effective tools for really dissolving the perceptions which actually create our emotions or the feelings that we have, and which are then responsible for the actions we take. So it's a very, it's quite a deep method. It's a very scientific method of transformation. So we really get to the crux of the matter.
Sure. And how long have you been working with this method, Mandy?
Since about 2008. 2007, 2008 is when I first got introduced with it, and I've had to use it in my life a lot, and so for me I can see that it's worked, and I've used it with a lot of people in their lives as well, and I just love the fact that it's a science, so it works every time, and so that gives me an element of certainty, which I love. So it really doesn't matter what challenge that we're going through, there is definitely a way forward, and once you begin to play in that space, it's I love it. I kind of use the word magic. It's not magic at all, but I love the result because you get introduced to, the ahas and who you really are. So that's what I love about it.
Brilliant. And I know because I've experienced working with you both on a one-to-one and within your workshop environment, and I've found the work that you do and the methods you use amazing. Can I ask you to talk a little bit about who are the types of people that you help?
I like to think I help people that are pretty much they're high achievers or they're big thinkers, and they're here to do something really important. They know it, they've got that feeling inside of them, but sometimes they either not giving themselves permission to go for it, there's something blocking them, or else they're stuck in some way, or else they just need some help grounding their ideas down into reality. Or they're feeling that if they do stretch and go to where they really want to go, then some of their past things or challenges that have come forward are going to show up again, or else they just kind of need help to sort of gain some perspective and change some perceptions around things. So that's who I tend to help a lot. So
sure. Yep, excellent. So you've said high achievers and big thinkers. So Mandy, that's likely to include a lot of business owners, isn't it?
Yeah, it includes a lot of business owners. Some they're got their own businesses, and it doesn't really matter what size they are, whether they're a solo business owner or whether they've got 100 staff, 200 staff. It doesn't really matter. I think at the end of the day, we're all human beings, and we all need to find our inspiration and find our and find out who we are. So that's what I sort of love to help people like that, because they influence people around them as well. And I think that's so important, because the more we become who we are, the more we influence others around us, and they have permission to be authentic and real and be themselves.
Sure. And what happens when they take those steps and they be more themselves and they be more real or more authentic?
Well, you'll be able to sort of allude to this as well, but I think there's a calmness that happens. I think it stops the chaos of thoughts that goes on, because we're not trying to be somebody that we're not. We're now ourselves. We are we're being real. So I think, when we've all got emotional problems and they pop up from time to time and they take up a lot of space and time in our minds. And what happens is that then that's all we can think about, and it keeps us up at night and things like that. So once you dissolve those, so we go in and we find out exactly what specifically is the issue or the problem or the challenge. And once that dissolves, it really clears the mind, and it allows people to have a much greater view of their inspiration, which is the spirit within. So that's the thing that's most meaningful to them. So what happens is that our emotions, which is energy and motion, it blocks us from the inspiration. So what I help do is just bring people back to the present, bring them back to where they can see both sides of what's happening. Because a lot of times people, they're wanting everything to be 100% positive, not realizing there's a lot of benefits to the negative. So, all my clients, and as you know, I'm always asking what are the benefits of the negative things that happen in our lives, because there's a lot of magic that's sitting there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've covered quite a bit of territory there, Mandy. I think about that concept of balance, which I experienced in working with you, and very much that what are the benefits of a perceived negative situation. I know that prior to working with you, I probably thought, well, I should keep positive, and even when things are difficult, keep positive, and that I didn't really accept what I would probably have thought about as how can I put this? I didn't think about it as something that I would gain positive things from the stuff that I thought was negative, the stuff that I perceived to be negative.
Yeah.
So I'm, in working with you, when you asked me the question, what are the benefits? I found it really hard initially to think about what the benefits were of what I perceived to be a negative situation. But the power of going through that process was huge.
Yeah.
So because when you come out the other side, it really does leave you in a much more balanced state. And I found that intriguing. So I think your description of the scientific method that you apply, it almost seems like magic.
It does, but it's actually magic that we're creating for ourselves. And I think it puts the power back in who we are, because now you're playing with the energy of who we really are and what's creating the universe, because the universe has got both positive and negative energy. When you put them together, you give birth to light or aha moments, or you just feel lighter, because even our languaging when we are talking is that, we're going, oh, this is really weighing me down. This is just so, we actually feel heavy when we've got a lot of emotional stress on us. But as soon as you balance it and actually look at the negatives and see how they actually benefit us, how they are actually really, they're there for a reason. So once you find what it is, then suddenly you're not playing such a big game. You're playing in the big universal game rather than the little human game that you're creating just for yourself. So, because I like the big thinkers, and so I think if we can get into the space where we're playing a big game, it's a lot more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the sense I felt was that I felt freed of a whole bunch of emotional, what you call baggage, to actually be more present and be able to be calm and really just look at something with fresh eyes, which felt much more empowered and powerful than where I had been before, which was stuck in a whole bunch of what I'd call negative spiraling head talk about the subject or the relationship or the situation that we were working on at that particular time.
Yeah. And don't you know, we're powerful when we go into that spiral, aren't we? Man, we do such a good job. And I think I term baggage as bags of age. So it weighs us down, and it can create signs and symptoms. And we know when our suitcases are too heavy, we can get sore bags and sore backs and things like that. So, it's no different to the baggage that we carry around with us. And it's aging as well. So the stress that we create is actually, that can be really aging as well. And it's creating signs and symptoms in our body. And so, so I love the term baggage, because it just reminds me, just how big is my bag of age today? What am I weighing myself down with? And so it just helps
Yes.
to keep things lighter. And, you know, and I think it's kind of time that we found a way forward so we're not stuck all the time. I think there's a benefit to being stuck, because that's when we can really, you know, we start reading books and we start looking at a whole bunch of things and we start to really think about who we are. But and, you know, so there's a lot of benefits to it, but it's actually really nice to come away with a way to move forward. And I, you know, that's what we're about. We're about growth and movement. So owning your negative side is actually one of the secrets.
Yeah, absolutely. And knowing how valuable that is, because I know, look, there's so many places this could go. Look, Mandy, just for a moment, we've got Drew who is interested in joining our conversation. Would you be open to a bit of a chat with Drew so that we can include him? He said he works using I think I've got Drew. I'm hoping Drew's a guy. He works using The Secret. Drew, I hope I haven't insulted you. And he would like to talk with us. Would you like to, if we open the seat to Drew?
Sure.
Drew, are you there? I'm just going to open this, and you're welcome.
How are you?
Hi, Drew.
So I work.
Good, thank you.
I'm from Connecticut, and I work at Harvard Hospital. I work with the Institute of Living, and I work with the Adolescents Unit, Natural Health and Science and Medicine. And this is a very interesting topic, and a lot of this, it's the psychiatric unit. So a lot of this patients are really from all kinds of different families. Sorry, that's my dog. All different family stuff.
Yeah.
All kinds of, so much, they're so used to the trauma in their life, and negative, and not getting the positive reinforcement from a parent or a guardian, that it's focusing them and saying, listen, you know, you're here in the now, you're here. Look at the progress you made from last week to this week. There's just so much that we don't provide that, you know, and I talk about even at school, you know, I've gone through some schools, and it's like talking to do it with some of the teachers. It's, you know, just randomly give a compliment, you know, walking through the hall, you know, that one comment of, wow, you would look really nice today, genuinely can mean the world, you know. And that's the thing that I practice every day is anything that I have that can all be negative, how can I turn that into a positive way, you know? And I think, you know, a lot of society is just so titled, and especially being a part of the LGBT community, it's just so direct, and everything has a name, a title, you know, there's so many different things, and this is why I like Blab. This is why I love what I hear. And I was like, oh gosh, thank goodness there's one that's not, you know, talking about your relationship problems, and this is why are there only 3 people, you know? But I was very happy. So I just wanted to say thank you for you guys getting this. This is a very good conversation, and it needs to be heard by people. Sorry.
Thank you, Drew.
So
well, look,
thank you so much, Drew.
Thank you for letting me in. But I just wanted to say, you know, it's a very it's a very empowering topic, and it's very, some people aren't very good at being able to handle that. But it's very important, and I think it's really good to hear that. So thank you. I'll let you guys go back. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I was just so excited. I was like, "Yay, this is great."
That's cool.
So
Drew,
I'll just listen.
Drew, do you have a question for Mandy?
No, I mean, I can listen. I mean, a lot of what you're saying is really what I talk about and I practice. So I do have one question. What do you do?
What do I do?
Mandy or me?
Both.
Well, as far as yeah, both.
Sure. I don't. Yeah.
Well, look, I'll do the introduction, and then Mandy can introduce her. So my business is called Force of Nature, and this is the very first blab that I've started that is called What is Your Force of Nature? Because what I want to do is share stories of people who are living their lives through doing what it is that they love to do. So I think those stories are the most inspiring stories.
Music.
Yeah.
Music.
That's for me.
Awesome.
That's for me. Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's great. And I find those stories incredibly inspiring, and I meet people in all sorts of places and online who are living those lives. And I think the more of those stories that we share, the more people will feel empowered to live that in their own life. And another aspect of that, Drew, is that I want to interview people like Mandy. One, she's living that life for herself, but what Mandy has through her work, and she'll tell you the answer to this, is that she helps other people live that kind of life. Awesome. So Mandy, perhaps you could share what you're doing.
Yeah, well, what I do is I help facilitate people through the challenges in their lives. So we take the tough times, so say you know, like the kids that you're working with and that, and we look, instead of them going into victim mode, we actually look at how the tough times have really benefited them. And you'll notice that a lot of world leaders, some of them have had, you know, ones that have done very well, some of them have done extremely well because of the challenge in early life. But we're thinking that everybody owes us something. But in reality, if we can actually go, well, how has it been a benefit that I've had this you know, this abusive father or mother or, you know, or whatever, how has that benefited me? Because what it does, and in the end, is we're becoming stronger as human beings. We become more resilient. And so we sort of help people find that. But because I facilitate people, the answer's got to come from them. So it's got to be their truth. And so we get into that space where they now know that their lives are meant to be. You know, and it takes away that victim. So now they can see that they are the victim and the hero in their life. They're both. Neither one or the other's bad. Yeah.
Well, that the victim and survivor is the word I use. In being one of the books I'm working, hopefully it was a phenomenal writer, and I would like to work with him as writing a book. I was adopted from Romania. In a very situation that was very bad, and literally 48 hours before 9/11, where they shut down the country for the next 5.5 years. And if it hadn't been for my parents who adopted me in those 48 hours, who knows where I would have been. Romania is a very hard country, a lot of sex trade. I'm one of 8 people, with every single one with a different father. So, I mean, you know, you talk about victim of that trauma and that terrible, but look at where it's brought me, and look at how I've taken that and I've embraced that, because it was very hard for years. I mean, it was like, well, you know, you go through the stages of, you know, I'm only 18, you know, you go through the stages of, okay, you know, you're mad at your parents, you're mad at your adopted parents, you know, you don't know, right? But now I've learned, and I've working with a lot of the adoption studies, and it's the word of survivor that, you know, is really powerful in students, in kids who have reactive attachment disorder, that continuous negative, and it's taking that victimization and the survivor mode, and taking that, you know, you don't have to make people like you know, for just accepting your challenges, accepting that. And everybody in life, there's nobody cruising through life going full circle. So,
and I think also, and I think if you like you, then the world's going to like you. If you're against you, then the world will be against you. So I think it's a big mirror out there for us.
The one thing I've always said is, before you can expect somebody to like you, you need to like you. Before you can solve a problem, you need to identify what the problem is. Not what everybody else's problem is, but what your problem is. Because chances with the problem is it's not everybody else in the world. Maybe it is, but what can you do and look at your situation and saying, okay, maybe it's a problem, but do I remove myself? Do I provide a better vibe? Do I provide more positive energy? There's always something that identifying the ground and the base of that problem before you can, you know, so this is awesome. I wish there were like 23 people on here. But,
So do we.
Hey, we'll get there,
but
Drew,
I'm
don't
gonna
worry.
go. I'm gonna go
That's
invite as
awesome.
many people. Stop talking about.
Oh,
your
you're
Right,
sweet.
well,
Thank you.
get on here.
No.
So this is good.
Thank you
Drew,
so
it's
much.
delightful that you've
Thank you, and
it's delightful that you've
listen.
joined us.
So, all right.
You're a lovely soul. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Great to
you.
have you here.
Good luck with the music too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Take care.
All right, you too. Positive energy to you all.
Same
Yeah,
to you.
bye.
Gorgeous.
Mandy, hi.
Hi.
Yeah, lovely Drew from Connecticut. Thanks very much for joining us, Drew. That's really nice to have had you on. So, Mandy, in terms of where we're at, we were talking about the sorts of things that you can help people with. And, Drew has covered a whole raft of different topics with the young people and people that he's been working with. When I think we were talking about people feeling blocked and stuck and feeling stressed. So it's the start of 2016.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people out there will be thinking, gosh, what do I want this year to look like? What are some other examples, if you like, or what might those people do in order to take a step further? Because I know that next week you've got a couple of exciting workshops coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to talk into those a little bit. Would you like to tell us a little bit about each of those? I know the first one's called Time to Shine,
Yes.
and that's a whole day in itself. And then the second is the Art and Science of Being Human, which I've experienced before. So what I think would be great. So for everyone who's watching, within now or in the future, Mandy delivers workshops on a regular basis, which I've had the pleasure of being a part of.
Yeah.
And the one she's running next week, I think it'd be really great to get a sense of who might go to those and what might they find and experience, what sorts of things could they address or achieve or solve by coming along to those. Mandy, do you want to tell us a little bit about those?
Sure. Well, with Time to Shine, it's really, I guess for me, it's part of what I've decided to do this year as well. And it's really time to sort of shine the light of who we are. Like you use force of nature. I might use, that it's like letting our essence out, letting our energy out. But what is that going to look like, and what could be in the way of that? So a lot of people have the big dreams, but then they're going, well, how do I, what exactly do I do? So I think this time it's going to be kind of a fun interactive, more of a lighter-hearted approach than what the next day is. But we're just going to look at energizing our goals and really getting practical and real with them. I'm going to be talking about magnetism and visualization and all the good fun stuff like that as well. And I've also got an exercise which I learned quite a few years ago, and it's really just giving evidence that it's 2,500 years old or something, and it is giving evidence that the universe is manifesting for us 24/7, but we're blind to it. So it's literally, what is it that we want, and giving ourselves permission with it, putting some energy around it, and actually and then actually walking out with one thing that we can really be doing that's going to leverage the rest of the year. So that's kind of fun. There's lots of cool little exercises, and because I find that when I do my Art and Science of Being Human, which is really teaching people the DeMartini method, a lot of people like it when I go off on tangents and we talk about human behavior and why people do what they do. So I think if we can relate that back to ourselves as to, why we didn't achieve as much as we wanted to last year, and how can we make sure that we can begin the year in the right framework and also have something that we can apply to any challenge that comes our way, then that's how that's how it works in from day one, where we really figure out what it is we want, and then we start to look at what's in the way of us achieving that and start to dissolve that, so that we start to raise our self-belief and our self-awareness and our self-worth as well, because that's the only reason why we're not taking action, and it's usually to do with a self-worth aspect. And once you set a big goal, that's when all your self-worth issues generally come up. So, and often it can be because we haven't broken it down into really realistic steps. And so that's another thing that we'll do on the first day as well. So that's the time to shine, is really
Brilliant.
just going, what is it that you want the year to be about? How are you going to shine your light this year? And we are human beings. We've got a higher mind, a lower mind. We are light. That's what we are. There's nothing but love in the universe. And so it's literally getting to know who we really are at our core, which is light, and allowing that out, because that's what we're here to do. And then day 2, as you know, the art and science of being human. The art we're very good at, putting our spin on it, but the science of being human, when you put the two together, that's when it really becomes quite it's quite an experience. And all kudos to Dr. John DeMartini for that method, because it is such a complete method for dissolving emotional charge. So it's not an easy day, but it's definitely worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I may, on day 2, so we'll talk a little bit shortly about where these are going to be held and what dates and things. But I've myself participated in the art and science of being human twice now, and I have found and experienced profound shifts around issues and relationships that were significant in terms of, I had a lot of baggage around those situations or those relationships. They were stuff that had generated an emotional response in me, and I found it amazing how much I let go of through experiencing that day. So I would totally recommend to anyone, if you want to let go of some heavy stuff or any drama that you've got around a relationship, or indeed, I found out from Mandy, we can actually, and reading Dr. John DeMartini, thanks to Mandy's great recommendations of his books, just on that note, so just reading the books, we'll get to that. The thing we can also focus on, and I don't know, Mandy, if this is a first up experience of your day 2, but you could actually focus on your business on that day 2 as well, couldn't you?
Oh, totally. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And it can be personal or professional.
That you have. Yeah. So any relationship you can look at on that second day. And I think, I know looking back at 2015, there were things that I hoped that I'd achieve or wanted to achieve but haven't yet achieved. So I've got plenty of material to start forming the ideas I'd like to explore in terms of my goals for 2016.
Yeah.
And I think for any of you who are watching, if you haven't yet done your planning, or if you're part way through your planning and you want some real momentum and to tap into the knowledge and science that Mandy brings to the work she does, to put that behind your goal setting for 2016, then day 1's going to be really a great experience for you too.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's a fun day. I'm having fun putting it all together as well, and because there's so many great exercises out there, but it's really keeping it real, keeping it the balance between the positive and negative, because what happens is when we make a big goal or we have a big dream, but we don't ground it into reality, we come up against a lot of challenges. So it's making sure that you can actually really move forward with it. Because I think for me, the energy feels very different in 2016. It feels like, this is the year to really push the boat out as far as I'm concerned. And so I'm hoping to, drag a few people along with me as I do it, because it's much more fun when you do it along with other people, as you know. So, yeah, cool.
Absolutely. Just as we're doing now.
Yeah,
with this
absolutely.
today, Mandy.
Yeah. Getting into new technology.
That's great.
Definitely.
Yeah. And problems that we've solved along the way. So what would be great is to know, Mandy, day 1, time to shine. What date is that?
That's Wednesday, January the 20th, and it's at the Novotel in Green Lane in the Cowrie Room 1.
Okay, great.
And it's from 9:30 to 4:30.
So that's Novotel. Sorry. So Novotel Green Lane on Wednesday, the 20th of January, 9:30 to
4:30.
4:30.
Yeah.
And that's Auckland for those of you who are watching. Okay, great. And And day 2, when's that?
Day 2 is Thursday, so it's the next day. It's the 21st of January, and that's a slightly longer day, as you know. So that's 8:30 to around 6:30, possibly 7 o'clock. It's in the same location.
Yep.
And so,
okay, great.
Yeah.
So if people are wanting to come to both, it's easy to get there.
They can come to one or both days as well. There's an option. So some people just want to come to day 1, some people are coming to day 1 and 2, and some people are just coming to day 2. So we're very flexible this time.
Great. So whereabouts can people register to attend, Mandy?
If they go onto my website and at mandybeverley.com, and if they just look under personal, under workshop and programs, there'll be the time to shine under there. So,
okay, great. That's excellent. And
actually, it's under programs.
What I'll do
under programs on the website. Sorry, Kate.
Oh, that's fine. It's all good. What I'll do is we'll share those links on Twitter, and also I'll share them on my Force of Nature Facebook page after today, and I know Mandy will share that too on her pages, so we'll make sure that information is available. And remember, mandybeverley.com.
Thanks, Kate. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Any last comments you'd like to share, Mandy?
I just think keep doing what you're doing, Kate. This is great. And I think just for any of us to sort of really own what our force of nature is, you know, who we really are and what we're here to do, I think it's really time just to give ourselves permission to go for it. And I think the biggest permission granter of it all is actually us giving ourselves permission. That's the hardest thing. So it's just just go. I think it's your time to shine. Go be the force of nature that you are. So thank you for highlighting so many amazing people here, Kate. It's brilliant, and thanks for the opportunity.
Oh, my pleasure. It's been a pleasure to interview you. And I'd just like to say, in my experience of working with you, Mandy, both doing the one-to-one coaching that you provide and also in the workshop environment, I have found what you do and the way that you do it, that's your force of nature, because, you know, it takes effort and application to learn the science of what you do. But when you do it, you so patently embody that knowledge and that science, and you practice it with such an art that your absolute love for what you do and your ability with it just shines through, and you're amazing.
Thank you.
It's like you've got a magic tuning fork when you work with an individual. Because as that person, and I know myself, I felt like I was a bit maybe stuck, or my head felt like mush when you start asking me questions like, what are the benefits of a situation that felt really shit?
Like, what? Yeah.
Like, what are the benefits, Mandy? I know that you took me through that fuzziness, that lack of clarity, or that mind bending, I can't get my head around that, to the other side where you achieve clarity and balance, and that's a fantastic state to get into for any person. So look, I really enthuse and recommend anybody who gets to watch this and hear about what you're doing to check out your workshops, and also to look at working with Mandy later this year, because earlier this year, just during the year, Mandy works one-to-one with clients on a regular basis. And I know I tell a lot of people about what you do, Mandy. So look, I look forward to further conversations with you and further blabs where we can talk into particular subjects, because I think there's so much for us to cover, and I look forward to sharing more information and stories and things that people can experience and changes they can create in their life and working with you. So that's the first What is Your Force of Nature blab today. Thank you very much for your time, and have a great start to 2016. See everyone. Bye.
Bye.